Change can be a little scary or even downright overwhelming, but you may know some people who seem to effortlessly change their lives, while other people seem to struggle with making even the smallest changes. In this video, we're going to explore the 5 stages of behavioral change and explore how these concepts can help to explain how we get stuck in certain patterns and how we can move through these stages to help change and evolve our behavior over time. We're also going to discuss some strategies that are used in the therapy technique called motivational interviewing. These strategies will help you move through each stage so that you can start taking actions toward your specific goals. Okay, first, let's discuss what are the stages of change. The stages of change, of course, need to have a fancy name because they were developed by a team of psychologists in the late 1970s and early 1980s. You know how us psychologists love fancy terms. We call it the Transtheoretical model of behavior change, more commonly known as the stages of change. It was originally developed to explain health behaviors such as eating healthy, dieting, or even stopping negative behaviors like smoking. It's just a theoretical framework. Frameworks are a way to organize and understand ideas in a particular topic. It can lay out how things are related to each other, and it can help us make sense of complex topics. It's theoretical because it's a concept or explanation that hasn't been fully proven or tested, either because the studies haven't been done yet, or it's likely never going to be practical to do such a study. Think of a theoretical model of child rearing. It's unlikely that we'll ever have a Truman Show-esque, completely controlled environment to test out our theory of child rearing, but it's a way for us to kind of organize our thoughts and present some hypotheses that are based on the data that we do have. The model suggests that people go through a series of stages when attempting to change a particular behavior. And it acknowledges that change is a gradual, cyclical process rather than a one-time event. I'll leave a link to some of the original articles explaining the model in the description box below. Let's start with the first phase of change, fancy word alert, pre-contemplation. I call this phase moments of ignorant bliss. In this phase, people aren't even aware that their behavior is problematic. It's possible that other people think their behavior is problematic, but they don't. It's also possible that there are some widely accepted medical advice or societal norms that the person just isn't following. But the central feature of this phase is that the person has no intention of changing. If you're watching this video in hopes of changing something for yourself, you are no longer in this phase. However, if you're watching this video thinking that someone else is not ready for change, it's possible that they're in the pre-contemplation phase. How do you handle this phase? Well, in order to move out of phase 1, the person must first be aware that a change is needed. Remember that in this phase, a person isn't even aware that they need to change, so bringing it up to their awareness is the first step. This can happen organically, like something happens in your life and you realize, whoa, I can't do that anymore, or I really need to start doing this. Or it could be brought to the person's attention by someone else. If this is the case, it's important to understand that it's nearly impossible to control someone else's behavior. My entire job as a licensed clinical psychologist and life coach is helping people to change, and after a decade of school and a decade of experience, I still don't have that superpower. All you can do for someone else in this stage of change is help them come to that awareness for themselves. Once a person is aware that they may need to change, they're on to phase 2. Fancy name, contemplation phase. Also known as, I know I need to change, but. In this phase, a person knows that they need to change, but they're a little wishy-washy about it. Like, I know I need to lose weight, but I love donuts. I know I need to get organized, but does anyone really have it together? In therapy, we call this ambivalence, and one of my favorite ways to help move past ambivalence is the good old pros and cons list, but with a twist. Sure, we have all done a pros and cons list for making a change or making a particular decision, but have you ever developed a pro and cons list for not changing? If you're stuck in this contemplation stage, you haven't committed to change yet, so let's roll with that resistance. You don't want to change? That's fine. Let's do a pros and cons for going with your gut feeling of not really being into change just yet. It might be easy for you to come up with the cons, or all of the bad things that'll happen if you don't change. But what are the benefits of not changing? Think about that for a moment. It's okay, I'll wait. There are totally cons to not changing, but there are also pros as well. When I do this for myself, I like to develop my pro and cons list over the course of a few days because it's easy for you to should all over yourself. Like, I know I should do this, or I know I should change because. But exploring both the pros and cons can help you resolve some of those buts. Because the I want to change buts are not the type of buts that I want taking up my mental space. Another way to help move you out of phase 2 is to take some time to think about your future self. Would I be more proud of the person who changes or doesn't change looking back on myself 6 months from now? Is this imaginary version of me closer to the person I want to be or further from the person I want to be? Enter my favorite phase of all, the preparation phase. This is the planning stage, this is goal setting, this is 75% of my channel, but it's also where many of us tend to get stuck. Never moving forward and constantly asking yourself, why can't I take the leap? In the preparation phase, a person has made a decision to change. They are also starting to take the steps toward making that change. They seek out information, support, start setting goals, and even might start making a plan. Lots of people get stuck in this phase. People that love details get stuck in this phase. People that hate details get stuck in this phase. People who are perfectionistic get stuck in this phase, and people that are more go with the flow also get stuck in this phase. The science behind how to approach this is, drumroll please, flexible forethought. Shameless self-promotion, or necessary explanation of my channel name. You decide. We've talked in other videos about the importance of making and executing a plan. Science supports setting a specific intention, but having flexibility in the execution of that plan. In a 2021 study looking at building a gym-going routine, 2,500 Google employees were randomized into 3 groups. The control group was given an email reminder to go to the gym. The fixed paid group was asked to determine what 2-hour window would work best for their schedule for them to go to the gym. And they were given a reward, a specific payment, if they attended the gym during their identified 2-hour time block. The third group was a flexible paid group. They were also asked to identify the best 2-hour period for them to go to the gym, but they were rewarded with a payment if they attended the gym at any time, not just during their pre-identified 2-hour time block. Over the course of the 4-week study period, the fixed time group did attend the gym more times during their identified 2-hour time block, but the flexible paid group actually attended the gym more often. This pattern remained for almost a year of follow-up period after the study was over. One of the authors of the study explains in her book How to Change, initial strict plans may be helpful in starting a new routine or behavior, but flexibility is needed for that behavior to stick. By the way, the articles or books referenced in this video are going to be linked in the description box down below, and while you're down there, consider hitting that subscribe button. So having a solid yet flexible plan might be the best way to slide from phase 3 to phase 4, the action phase. During the action phase, a person has begun to make changes and is actively working toward their goal. As we discussed, people tend to get stuck here if they're too rigid in their planning, or if they encounter challenges or setbacks. One of the ways to ensure that you're able to stay in the action phase and move on to the next phase is to engage in something called mental contrasting. In this technique, you spend some time thinking about your current reality, with a specific focus on barriers, obstacles, or limitations that have or may hinder your process in terms of your behavioral change. Then you take the time to pre-plan, maybe have some flexible forethought, how you'll handle those scenarios. Like, if I can't make it to the gym before work, I'll go to the gym after work. If I can't make it to the gym after work, I'll do a 20-minute YouTube workout at home. It's like you're pre-planning your flexibility. The goal in this phase is to support continuous action until you've fully formed your new behavior or habit. Once you've established your new behavior, you're done. Okay, bye. Wait! There is so little in life that's just set it and forget it. Otherwise, I'd still have that 6-pack from circa 2014. Did it once, never have to do an ab workout again. The final stage of change is called the maintenance phase. In this stage, the person has successfully made the behavioral change and is working to sustain those changes over time. This stage is often overlooked, but it's essential for ensuring that your hard work pays off in the long run. There's a good amount of research on this portion of the model in the relapse prevention literature. Relapse prevention focuses on people that have kicked or quit bad habits. One of the key principles in the relapse prevention model is that falling back into old patterns of behaviors is an expected part of the change process. It's important to be kind to yourself and to understand that one lapse in behavior does not mean that you are a complete failure or that you're back to the person that you were before you made the change. Falling back into some of those patterns is just part of the process. But it's easy for some people to fall into some of this black and white thinking. In fact, it's so common that it's known as a cognitive thinking trap, or ways in which your mind tries to trick you. If you're interested in other cognitive distortions and how you can overcome this black and white thinking, check out this video on why your thoughts can't be trusted. And if you're interested in other science-based strategies for changing your behavior, check out this video right here.